This is the Newsload.
My family was in the strip club business.
What?
Long ago. My Uncle Harry managed the Victory Burlesque during the 50s and 60s. It was the big, like 500-seat.
Oh my gosh, did you get to talk to all the dancing girls?
Yeah, but I was like 10.
That's
you know?
perfect. That's just when you develop your...
Did you ever see All That Jazz, the movie All That Jazz? It's a fantastic movie. It's about Bob Fosse's life.
I know Fosse, I know...
Yeah, watch the movie.
Okay.
Anyway, there's a scene in it, because he sort of had a similar kind of background, where he would go in and as a little boy, and the strippers, who were not... They were kind of more maternal in those days.
Yeah.
Would fawn all over him, and they'd be in, and they weren't naked. They'd be in, you know, all kinds of bras and feathers and boas and things. Yeah, and they would fawn all over him. That was kind of my childhood in a lot of ways.
What a lucky guy you are.
My uncle Harry was an older guy. Everybody loved him. He was great. He was very, very careful to, you know, be a good guy to the strippers. Just before Yuk Yuk's, the only place where comics could play would be these strip clubs. And there were a number of them.
Burlesque, yeah, vaudeville.
Right, and they weren't licensed establishments.
No.
There was one called Starvin' Marvin's. There was one, these were all on Yonge Street in the early 70s, late 60s. I never went to them, I wasn't old enough. But
you heard about them.
Of course, everybody knew them. Starvin' Marvin's Le Strip was the other one. And that's the only people who would hire comics before Yuk Yuk's got into the game.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You know?
They have a whole, you know, like sort of circus vaudeville thing where, you know, some of the MCs would, you know, like take their shirts off and such, and, you know, just very fascinating.
Yeah, well, it's interesting.
Evolution.
It's a period of comedic history that really, in Toronto, that really has never been written about or talked about a lot. But that was the thing back in 1970, 1974, 1976, around in there.
Fear inspires division, but funny inspires unity.
In the beginning, certainly. Not so much now, but in the beginning, I was very proud of the fact that you would look at the Yuk Yuk's audience, and it was so diverse. And I mean, I'm not talking about racial diversity necessarily, but it was diverse. Age was everything from 18 to 60. It was everything from really rich people. You'd see them walking in, the women with their furs, and poets with no money at all, because it was really cheap to get in. It was $3 or something. And it made me feel really great that a comic could get on stage and bring all these very disparate people together through laughter. Now it's a bit different because there's a demographic for everything. You know, we have a black night and the black audience shows up. We have a Jewish night and the Jewish audience shows up. We don't have anybody who's terribly poor because it costs $20 to get in. We don't have anybody who's terribly rich because the material is a bit aggressive against you know, wealthy people. So it's all become a bit of a similar demographic, but certainly in the beginning that was very true, what you just said. And it was something I was very proud of. There was nothing like that anywhere else. Maybe the jazz audience was a bit like that too. You know, you could have poor people sitting beside rich people listening to jazz in those days. Now I'm not so sure that's true anymore. I'm not a big jazz fan.
It's a little bit like your local coffee shop now. It's fascinating where you see the, you know, older gentleman who's coming to, you know, just have a coffee and maybe have some thoughts, but you also see the students talking.
Yeah, Starbucks has that kind of feel to it. To some degree, yeah, and that's nice. But remember, there's nothing there that's happening that's unifying everybody. But
everybody's drinking coffee.
Well, it's not quite the same thing as everybody laughing at a joke.
Absolutely.
You know,
it's not as effective in their lives or anything. And I feel genuinely that, you know, the influence of laughter, even if they can't remember the joke, they remember how it felt.
I often wonder how long the effect of the drug works, if you want to call comedy a drug. You know, they're really happy while they're watching the show. They're really feeling liberated while they're watching the show. Then they leave, they get in their cars, there's a traffic jam, and then all the good we've done is kind of finished. It's too bad that it doesn't really last.
In school, when you were part of our Humber College program,
yes.
I believe there was a rumor coming around that you helped heroin addicts you know, there was possibly even, you know, needles and resuscitation and such in this business.
Oh yeah, but not at Humber.
No.
The Humber kids weren't.
That was just gossip.
The Humber kids weren't on heroin.
No. But your
They should have been.
your talent. Some of them have struggled with addiction.
And sometimes it's worked. Sometimes it hasn't. I can tell this story because the person is no longer living. Mike McDonald, the great Mike McDonald, had such a horrible heroin addiction and coke addiction that he wound up owing $25,000 to a bunch of dealers who were going to, you know, cut his legs off. Who were going to break his legs if he didn't pay up. He didn't have the money. So I scrounged together $25,000.
How did you do that? Just the bank?
I went to everybody I knew, and I put it all in a briefcase. And Mike and I went down to Cherry Beach late at night with $25,000 in a briefcase. And these guys, it was like out of a movie. And these guys show up in a car, and they get out, and they go, "You got the money?" And I said, "I have the money." And they looked at the money, they counted the money, they said, "Thanks very much, we won't bother him again. We're not going to sell to him again." I said, "I'm glad of that." And then Mike owed me the $25,000 and he paid it off.
He paid you back every cent?
He paid me back every cent. And he stopped doing, and I got him into a program, and my doctor, who, you know, orchestrated this, said, "Don't expect much. Most people, you know, they slip back." I said, "I don't know what else to do. I have to do it. He's my best friend in the business." So he never slipped back, but he found, unfortunately, he found a drug that was even worse than heroin. Jesus. He became a Jesus freak, and it really hurt his comedy.
This is the Newsload.